Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Arundhati Ramanan and here are the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. A Friday rally lifts the Lal Street as Sensex and Nifty turn positive for the week. IT stocks are the big gainers. The rupee also regained some lost ground against the dollar.
They're not amber flags. They're red flags all over the place. So the regulator has to be careful.
Bank licenses for corporates and fintechs will take some more time, says veteran banker Kamath, citing signs of rash behavior and a lot of red flags. Adds there is no need to privatize PSU banks given their current return on equity. That's an exclusive. The union government's just-in-time fund transfer system for central schemes via an RBI platform, leading to lesser idle deposits in state governments' current accounts. PSU banks complain that the new mechanism may have taken away at least 1 to 2 trillion rupees from their current accounts, but central government insists it won't reverse what it sees as good process reform. Bajaj Auto dethrones electric two-wheeler market leader Ola in December, leads the pack with a market share of close to 28% as per Vahan data. TVS Motor is second with a market share of 22%, followed by Ola Electric at 18%. Zomato receives a GST demand of over 400 crore rupees, along with a penalty of over 400 crore rupees and interest charges. Tax Department says Zomato failed to include delivery charges in GST return filings, even as the company contests the claim. 10-minute food delivery enters a new frontier months after Swiggy launched Bolt. Zomato-owned Blinkit launches Bistro. Zepto to launch a separate app for its Zepto Cafe unit next week. U.S. defends Israeli strikes in Syria, even as United Nations General Secretary says the world is deeply concerned and called for immediate de-escalation. The U.S. diplomat says Turkey is on the same page as the U.S. after meeting Erdogan in Ankara. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh initiates the Lok Sabha debate on the Constitution, says the Congress had tried to destroy its basic principles. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra accuses the government of favouring Adani in her maiden Lok Sabha speech. Adds if not for election results, BJP would have begun changing the Constitution. Telugu movie superstar Allu Arjun taken into custody over a tragic incident at the premiere of his film Pushpa 2 in Hyderabad last week. One woman was killed in a stampede-like incident after a massive crowd thronged the Sandhya theatre to catch a glimpse of the star. Let's start with the market action of the day. A strong rally on Friday lifted the sentiment on the Lal Street. Sensex and Nifty ended the week in the green after recovering 3% from the day's low. Mid-caps underperformed the blue chips with the index ending marginally in the red. In the money market, the rupee gained nearly 8 paisa against the dollar, bucking the trend across other emerging markets. India's 10-year sovereign bonds also declined in trade today. The big international story: Syrian civilians continue to search for their loved ones. Tens of thousands of them who disappeared or were detained in the decade-long civil war under Bashar al-Assad's regime. Civilians also laid to rest the bodies of an anti-Assad activist and over 30 others who were found in a hospital morgue in Damascus. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed concern over Israeli airstrikes on Syria and urged a de-escalation in the violence. However, Israel said its forces will remain in the Syrian territory they have seized for now. The U.S. defended Israel's operations in Syria, saying it had a right to defend itself from security risks. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Turkish President Erdogan to discuss the political transition in Syria. He asked Erdogan to ensure Syrian civilians are protected after Ankara-backed rebels overthrew the Bashar al-Assad government.
There's broad agreement on what we would each like to see going forward, starting with the interim government in Syria, one that is inclusive and non-sectarian, one that protects the rights of minorities and women, one that preserves institutions of the state and delivers services to the people, and, of course, one that does not pose any kind of threat to any of Syria's neighbors.
And staying with tensions in West Asia, at least 71 people were killed across the Gaza Strip by Israeli forces. Forces have also attacked a refugee camp in the enclave, killing 33 people. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who is visiting the region, has said that a ceasefire deal can happen. This comes as talks to end the war and release captives in Gaza continue between the two entities. The big newsmaker this evening, veteran banker KV Kamath believes bank licenses for corporates and fintechs will take more time. Kamath cited signs of rash behavior and a lot of red flags in the fintech space as the reason for this. Speaking to CNBC-TV18 Shireen Bhan after the 30th Lalit Doshi Memorial Lecture, Kamath also added that there is no need to privatize PSU banks given their current return on equity. Take a look.
The founders of Zerodha in their conversation with me said, we want to be a bank. If we could apply for a banking license, we would do it, tomorrow. Do you believe that that should be something that we consider as we go forward? And two, allowing corporates into the banking sector. This has been much debated, much talked about, much asked for as well. Do you believe that the time has come to perhaps consider that possibility?
See, we need to understand this whole question from the perspective of the regulator. A regulator primary purpose on the banking front is safety of deposits. So when the regulator feels that there is comfort in fintech or DTech coming in and becoming a bank and taking deposits, for which finally the Reserve Bank or the regulator is going to be responsible for, at that point of time they will allow this to happen. So clearly it's a transitionary process. So as that confidence builds up, that change will happen.
So what does your gut tell you? I mean, if you were to take that call today,
yeah, I think,
on the back of what you're seeing?
To be very frank, it needs a little more time, because I am seeing signs of rash behavior. I'm being very frank about it on the part of digitally driven enterprises, which I think the regulator has had to manage with great care. If you look at it as a bank, as a banker, if a regulator says that on, say, retail unsecured lending, I have to increase risk weightage by 25 bips, to me it is a signal. Or if another regulator says that 90-95% of F&O transactions are basically where people have lost money, and maybe 60 entities on the other side have made money, and that this funding has come from where? It has come from somewhere within the financial system. Then I think they are not amber flags. They are red flags all over the place. So the regulator has to be careful. I think in the context of corporates, I think there is a different view that was there. These things that I mentioned will be relevant, but also is there going to be what I'd call lending to self, and how to go ahead. Yeah. So I think the regulator has to be comfortable with these things before we proceed. But to me, the first step is bulking up of existing players.
And you can catch the full interview with KV Kamath at 5:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Bajaj Auto has surpassed Ola Electric and TVS Motor to take the lead in the electric two-wheeler space with a 28% market share in December. As per the latest Vahan data, Ola's market share has dropped from 52% in April of this year to 18% currently. Speaking at the India Business Leader Awards last week, Rajiv Bajaja took a dig at rival Ola. Take a look.
Based on December Vahan registration data, our electric scooter, the Chetak, is now the largest selling, not the third largest, the largest selling electric scooter in the country. So your award could not be better timed. And the message to me is, Ola to Ola hai, lekin Chetak to Shola hai. So, I just close by saying that it was Ralph Nader who said, I want the guys who love to win, and if I can't have them, I want the guys that hate to lose. I am so fortunate I have 10,000 guys who either love to win or hate to lose.
MobiKwik's 572 crore rupee IPO has been subscribed by more than 114 times as of 4 p.m. on the last day of bidding. The demand was led by strong interest from retail investors, whose portion was subscribed by 127 times. Non-institutional investors subscribed 107 times their reserved portion, while qualified institutional buyers booked their allocation 113 times. The initial public offering of Junjunwala, a family-backed Inventurous Knowledge Solutions, was oversubscribed on the second day. This was led by non-institutional investors, followed by qualified institutional buyers. The IPO is pure offer for sale, with the company having raised 1,120 crore rupees in anchor investment ahead of the public offer. And staying with IPOs, the 8,000 crore rupee initial public offering of Vishal Mega Mart has been fully subscribed on the second day of bidding and continues to rake in robust investor interest on the final day of bidding. The total subscription was subscribed more than 27 times, and this was led largely by qualified institutional buyers, followed by non-institutional investors. And the 3,000 crore rupee initial public offering of Sai Life Sciences has been oversubscribed after receiving robust response from investors on the final day of bidding. The company's shares will list on the bourses on the 18th of December. And the union government's just-in-time fund transfer system for central schemes via an RBI platform is leading to lesser idle deposits in state government's current accounts. Lata Venkatesh joins us now with more. Lata, could you sort of explain this mechanism and tell us how it's hurting banks?
Many reasons have been given for why banks have been finding a shortage of stable deposits. But here's one factor which is less discussed: the way in which centre funds the states for centrally sponsored schemes. Until last year, an account was created scheme-wise in the bank for each state. The centre and states put their share of the money for a scheme in that account, and when there was sufficient money, the bank, under instruction from states and centre, released the funds to the beneficiaries. But since 2023, the central government has created a portal with RBI called the SNA Sparsh. SNA stands for Single Nodal Agency. Now the funds for centrally sponsored schemes don't go to the PSU bank accounts of the states from the centre. Instead, it goes to the account created in the SNA Sparsh portal. The accounts are scheme-wise and state-wise. As and when demands are made for payment by a beneficiary or an implementation authority, the central and the state officers okay the amount, and the beneficiary is paid through the e-Kuber platform of the Reserve Bank of India. The advantage for the centre is it makes just-in-time payments and funds don't lie idle in the bank account of the states, like they used to earlier when funds for CSS schemes were transferred mechanically every quarter or month-wise. But the unexpected collateral problems for some parties are as follows. One, the states used to park the central funds in treasury bills, T-bills, and earn a cool, 5-6% interest. The other casualty are banks, especially public sector banks, who are used to having this float in their current account. But now, some of the funds transfer is through the RBI portal, and hence, banks have been seeing a slowdown in their deposits. The unspent money is seen in the central government's government cash balances. These were as high as 4 lakh crore up until October this year. Of course, the cash balances is not just the money assigned to the centrally sponsored schemes. It includes other tax money not spent by the government. But these cash balances have come down to nearly 40,000 crores in December. The central government is planning to move more schemes to this SNA portal. 10 states have already moved to the SNA portal in FY24, that's last year. Another 8 have moved this year. And by next year, almost all states will have moved to this portal. Again, not all schemes of these states have moved. Some ministries have worked faster than others. Short point, for the banks, it means less and less idle, stable deposits of state governments in their current account. Understandably, they are protesting. But the central government is clear. It will not backtrack on its just-in-time cash management, which is an efficient way of doing things. They point out that out of a total kitty of 20 trillion rupees or so in the current accounts of banks, the decline because of this government's transfer changes is only about 1 or 2 trillion rupees. And therefore, it should not be blamed too much for the illiquidity in the banking sector.
All right, Lata, thank you so much for taking us through those details. On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, 10-minute food delivery enters a new frontier. Months after Swiggy launched Bolt, Zomato-owned Blinkit launches Bistro. More details when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business 360. The government and opposition faced off in a debate on the constitution in the Lok Sabha. Union Minister Rajnath Singh criticized the Congress party, saying that it disrespected the constitution and its spirit. He also accused Congress of hijacking credit for the document. Congress MP Priyanka Gandhi, in her maiden speech, accused the Modi government of undermining the government by favouring Gautam Adani over 142 crore Indians. She claimed that the Lok Sabha election outcome protected the constitution. Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha was adjourned for the day owing to uproar over the no-confidence motion against Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar and the Adani Rao.
मैं देखता हूं कि विपक्ष के कई नेता संविधान की प्रति अपनी जेब में रखकर घूमते हैं। असल में उन्होंने बचपन से ही यही सीखा है। उन्होंने पीढ़ियों से अपने परिवार में संविधान को जेब में ही रखे देखा। लेकिन अध्यक्ष महोदय, भारतीय जनता पार्टी संविधान को सिर माथे पर लगाती है।
देश देख रहा है कि एक व्यक्ति को बचाने के लिए 142 करोड़ देश की जनता को नकारा जा रहा है। सारे बंदरगाह, एयरपोर्ट्स, सड़कें, रेलवे का काम, कारखाने, खदानें, सरकारी कंपनियां सिर्फ एक व्यक्ति को दी जा रही है। आम लोगों के बीच ये धारणा बनती चली जा रही है कि सरकार सिर्फ अडानी जी के मुनाफे के लिए चल रही है।
Food delivery aggregator Zomato has received a GST demand notice from Maharashtra to the tune of over 800 crore rupees. CNBC-TV18 has accessed the 57-page notice. Timsi Jaipuria is here joining us live with more details. Timsi, what does this say?
Well, that's right. CNBC-TV18 has reviewed the 57-page central GST evasion orders issued to Zomato on 28th of November. According to the orders, central GST Thane in Maharashtra has alleged Zomato of non-payment of GST by not including delivery charges in GST returns between 29th of October 2019 till 31st of March 2022. The non-payment of GST computed by the tax authorities is worth 401.70 crores and a penalty of an equal amount too has been levied on this non-payment, making the total dues to the tax authorities at 803.40 crores plus an interest. The alleged claims by the GST authorities are that Zomato charged delivery charges or fees from its customers and thus is liable to pay 18% GST. Post-detailed assessment of the matter, CGST Thane issued orders raising 803 crore plus interest against Zomato. It says that Zomato used to charge delivery charges or fees from users, paid GST at 18% on it up till 28th of October 2019. Later, Zomato discontinued GST payment on delivery charges from 29th of October 2019 with no significant changes in on-field operations. Post 28th of October 2019, Zomato it also changed the contracts with delivery partners and claimed them as independent service providers responsible for services and tax liabilities. Based on scrutiny of documents by the GST authorities, and I quote the order, it appears that Zomato has unilaterally revised agreements with delivery partners, but it was Zomato which was the actual provider of home delivery services and thus is liable to pay GST at 18%, end of quote. To be now seen is whether Zomato clears these payments to the tax authorities or it challenges these orders, something that we'll have to wait and keep you posted about. Back to you.
Absolutely, Timsi. Many thanks for those details. Now, the 10-minute food delivery race continues to heat up. Quick commerce player Blinkit has announced the launch of Bistro in a bid to compete with Zepto Cafe. This is the second attempt by Zomato to venture into the instant food delivery segment. Shilpa Ranipeta joins us now with the details. Shilpa, the cafe wars are now heating up.
Well, you know, if we can get our grocery, clothes, bed sheets in 10 minutes, why not coffee and meals? Consumer expectations are rapidly evolving, so the next big bet of the quick commerce players is food. Now, the latest entrance in this space is Zomato's Blinkit, which just launched Bistro, its 10-minute food delivery offering. It's yet to be operational. Bistro's website suggests that it will deliver healthy juices, snacks and meals in minutes. Now, remember, this is Zomato's second attempt at food delivery after Instant failed in 2022. Bistro now takes on Zepto Cafe directly, which interestingly also just announced that it will launch a separate app for Cafe next week as it expands its presence in metros while also adding more to its menu. Now, this comes on the back of the success that Zepto has seen for its food offering. 30,000 orders per day. And CEO Adit Palicha says that a separate app has a significant consumer top-of-the-mind advantage, and he sees the economics work for a standalone app. Now, Swiggy is no stranger to this space either. In October, it launched Bolt, a 10-minute food delivery offering from restaurants in a 2-kilometer radius. And consumers are lapping it up. Within 2 months of its launch, Bolt already accounts for 5% of all the food deliveries. But it's important to note that there's a slight difference in how each of them is doing it. Now, for instance, Zepto and Blinkit's 10-minute food delivery will offer snacks, beverages, meals, and these will be prepared in kitchens. And some of the ready-to-eat stuff that Zepto sells is sourced from local vendors. But Swiggy, on the other hand, is offering its 10-minute delivery through its core food delivery app, where it is partnering with restaurants which are in a 2-kilometer radius of the delivery. And this focuses on foods and on dishes that require a minimum to no preparation time. And this is, like I said, within a 2-kilometer radius. So this is the next big growth frontier for food delivery apps, for all the delivery apps, in fact, which is food in 10 minutes.
So this is the next food in 10 minutes, Shilpa, from all of these players. Thank you so much for those details. Now, Telugu movie superstar Allu Arjun sent to 14-day judicial custody. He was earlier taken into custody over a tragic incident at the premiere of his film Pushpa 2 in Hyderabad last week. One woman was killed in a stampede-like incident after a massive crowd thronged the Sandhya Theatre to catch his glimpse. And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC TV 18. Stay tuned.